So in other words, logical claims are also structural claims that are a way in which we see things as reasonable or not. And then, so in this case, I'm standing offering you a lecture, and at this very moment. And so that is something that I can verify empirically by way of sense perception, right? I see the camera in front of me, I'm holding a book, I'm hearing my own voice, so on and so forth. So, in other words, we justify propositions rationally and empirically, and so this is something that we see as bound together, and sometimes we think of perception separately from our rational cognition, and sometimes we see it as tied together to be a way in which we're understanding a basic belief in relation to non-basic beliefs. So to have a basic beliefs, we don't need to resort to any other beliefs in order to have our basic beliefs. So for example, with the statement, I am in pain, I don't need an additional belief to know that I'm in pain, right? On the other hand, if I see a robin in a tree, I have to rely on a belief that I'm identifying the right bird to begin with in the first place. Likewise, the belief that others have enough knowledge to identify this bird by way of its specific plumage or its call, so on and so forth, to recognize it as a robin is a way in which I'm relying on non-basic beliefs. And the point there also is tied in with this notion that, again, when we understand things as true, we believe them oftentimes by way of non-basic beliefs that we usually don't have a clear working through of in order to see it as 100% true. So that the way in which we're relying on the beliefs of others is a structure of how it is that we understand things as true as well. So in other words, a lot of our knowledge is based on non-basic beliefs. Most importantly, the non-basic beliefs of others. And so much of what we think of or that we know of goes like this. So when we're demanding that we have all the facts, we don't often know what we're asking for. Because even if we're claiming that a certain thing is a fact or a certain action is a fact, we don't always have the full verification of that in order to classify it as something we know 100%, right? Okay, so now we're also moving on to a type of truth that is known as foundationalism, or a type of truth theory otherwise known as foundationalism, which rests on the notion that all non-basic beliefs are reliant on basic beliefs. So a few of the philosophers we looked at are foundationalists, such as Descartes, Hume, and Kant. So even with Descartes as a rationalist, we're thinking that he bases a lot of his rational beliefs on the basic I think therefore I am, or what we were identifying as the cogito. And this is also something like Hume, where we had impressions that are a direct way in which we have knowledge of the world by way of perception, and then all other ideas follow from there. So this is a way that we're understanding the relationship between non-basic beliefs in terms of laying a foundation for, the way in which we understand basic beliefs that then extend to non-basic beliefs. So Descartes' famous line, I think therefore I am, is related to these so-called basic beliefs, given that the statement, I think therefore I am, is the starting point or the ground zero for Descartes of all other rational knowledge. The American Wilfrid Sellars was a critical realist. He was born in 1912 and dies in 1989. he argued that all of our beliefs stem from culture and history, and therefore not necessarily from basic beliefs. So this, for Sellars, is the myth of the given, whereby all of our assumed basic beliefs are grounded on other beliefs, in other words, from our culture, our history, our society, so on and so forth. And these basic beliefs are passed on from others, and are not as basic as we assume. But once we start drawing that out, we could still at least say that there still are beliefs that are not based on our cultural understanding. So in other words, if I'm saying I'm in pain, the question is how cultural or how culturally foundational is such a belief. And so what we at least have to acknowledge is that there are certain basic beliefs that we could challenge as having their origin in some kind of cultural basis, that sort of thing. And we could think of such things as the way in which we understand things religiously, so on and so forth. So I'll look to you to offer more examples of that. Then, on the other hand, we have a view of truth, otherwise known as coherentism. And so a coherentist also does not believe that we justify our non-basic beliefs simply by basic beliefs. So for the most part, the way in which we justify our beliefs for the coherentist is to recognize that our beliefs are justified if the beliefs cohere in a set of beliefs. So in other words, all of our beliefs are reliant on a way in which we're understanding other beliefs. So they cohere with other beliefs. And so this is a way in which we're understanding truth as essentially a web or a network of mutually interdependent beliefs. And so, as Velasquez puts it, beliefs hang together in support of each other, and so justification